latest news is that the jet fuel hoax, and this is a good one, folks. I mean, this is something that, it's not like Flat Earth, you know, or 9/11, or, you know, a lot of these things. This is something that we can all verify in many, many ways. And, you know, and I've just heard it talked about really in the last week or two. And some of the people who've been talking about it, they've been talking about it a little longer, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 months, but it's just getting out now. And I just ran across it, and there's a few channels, Jones Sinaj, Jones and then Jones backwards, YouTube channel, and Coop Stoop YouTube channel, Coop with a K, and then Enslaved by Media and Enslaved by No Media channels. So a lot of interesting stuff, and there's probably others. Globebusters are talking about it now, and you know, several people. It's just one of those things that kind of makes a lot of sense. Like, you know, we've already talked about nukes being a hoax, and that's another thing that's really hard for, you know, just the average Joe to try to prove that, you know, what's going on in the nuclear plants. Although you can listen to people, you know, who have, you know, what's the guy's name? Whalen or something? I don't know. The guy who worked in the nuke plant and swam in the runoff pools or whatever, and literally drank the liquid, and has been going on lectures and showing that that it's not poisonous and it's not radiating you, and, you know, like Fukushima was a hoax, you know. So that information really isn't very ready and available. But the jet fuel hoax, these big commercial passenger jets, there's all kinds of evidence to suggest that they're running on compressed air. Take it over, Hank. Hippie.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Just got thinking about it, and I got a hunch what we're going to find out is this compressed air free energy technology. We're going to find out that that's what's in these big nuclear power plant, alleged nuclear power plant, with big cooling towers and copious amounts of water coming in and going out to keep these big free energy compressed energy turbines, much like jet engines. That's what they use to keep them cool, and there isn't a stick of nuclear anything in them, because there isn't any nuclear anything anywhere. It's all been fear porn, and you know, millions and billions of tax dollars to clean up around the things and to store the stuff and all that other horse shit. They're going to find out, I'm pretty sure, that they're just the same as the jet engine thing. They're free energy technology in the form of these type of engines on a bigger scale inside of nuclear power plants. That's what I think is going to happen, but I can't prove it and don't know nothing, but I got a sneaking suspicion.
Yeah. And, you know, we were just watching something about Flat Earth, and, you know, interviews with people, and so typically people, you give them information that they haven't heard before, or something that contradicts their reality or what they've been thought was real all their life, and they have these standard patent answers, you know, rebuttals to everything, you know? And so they just can't wrap their heads around it. But, you know, once you just open your mind enough to look at, like, things that are common sense, like water stays level and, you know, can't conform to the exterior of a shape, and you don't sense the earth moving. And once you realize something like that, like that the earth is flat and not a spinning ball, you know, stuff like compressed air in a airplane that planes, you know, and really based on like principles when you look into it of how they compress the air and run the planes on free energy. And possibly static electricity, you know, because there's a lot of static energy up in the upper sky.
Higher up you go.
The higher you go, allegedly, there's more static. I'm pretty sure, you know, that can be proven, you know. But we have been told that we're just too damn stupid. You know, we don't understand physics. I'm not a scientist. You know, the Earth's too big. Everything's too big. Everything's too fucking far away, right?
It's
just too hard for us to understand. How do we even know that we're even real? How do we even know that this is real? You know? Dell said something like, proposed, you know, this guy was like, well, I don't even know if I'm here, you know, or if I'm even real. And, you know, and maybe my reality is just only subjective to what I perceive, right? Okay, so go and drop a piano on your baby and tell me if the baby feels it, if the reality is only subjective to what you perceive. Is that a good analogy?
That works for me.
It works for me too. So, you know, and you don't have to, like, drop a piano on your baby to actually differentiate reality from fiction. You know, pinch yourself. You're real. This is real. It's physical. You can feel it, smell it, taste it, hear it, touch it, measure it. Lots of stuff. You know, it's not subject to belief, because some things are testable, repeatable, experimentable, you know, measurable, repeatable. So here's something to really to look into, because somebody is basing almost everything in the economies worldwide, in all four corners, on petroleum-based products, fuels. And they're using, you know, they allege that this, okay, just take this one Airbus, airplane, commercial passenger jet, the A380 Airbus. They say that thing holds 81,000 gallons of fuel. And some people will say that the fuel weighs less, the kerosene weighs less than gasoline or whatever. No, not that much. Maybe a teeny tiny bit less, but no, not by any factor that's negligible. It's how many pounds, how many tons?
Well, it's, you know, pushing on toward 750,000 pounds.
He's a great mathematician. And he can just, like, he knows the numbers right off the top of his head. I can just throw anything at him and I can't fool him. But, so there's tons, there's all these tons, okay? I saw this video today. A guy who's a crane operator, one of those big fuckers, it's like huge. How tall are those things? About.
Well, I don't know. The one he was in was probably 500 or 600 feet off the ground.
Right, and this thing lifts 8
Only lifts 8 tons.
tons. 8 tons, okay? But it would take how many of those cranes to lift the amount of fuel in one wing of this airplane?
Yeah, we
26 of these cranes, I believe.
Yep, that's what the answer was.
To lift one of these airplanes, okay, full of fuel.
Well,
So it would take 13 of them to lift one wing full of fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of town, man. It ain't happening. These planes, I mean, you know, we can verify this. There's got to be lots of ways. Like, you could somehow get into an airplane graveyard and oh, wait a second, they're all controlled by military, aren't they?
Military operations.
Yeah. Never mind that one. No,
just,
you can't verify it that way. Well,
just look at the wing. It clearly can't hold the volume of liquid they're talking about.
Just look at the wing. Look at it. Like this thing, you know, and it's got like tons and tons, like 12 6,000 gallon fuel tankers inside of this little wing. Something like that.
Yeah.
Is that
just ain't happening?
Is that about right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it ain't happening. So, you know, in lieu of this, that the jets are running on compressed air. It's really simple, and it's over unity, evidently. I mean, you know, it's compressing the air as it's going.
And propelling the machine.
And propelling the machine. So it's, you know, it's free energy. It's right in there with all the free energy that they're using, have been using for a long time, and lying to us about. Yeah, how much fuel? If just one of these jets requires, how much fuel did they say they use a minute?
Well, it depends on who you ask. You can go to Agent Jay-Z's Agent Jay-Z's channel, and he'll tell you 2 gallons a minute, and then he'll tell you 200 gallons a minute. So, you know, who knows?
Yeah, you know, that's a pretty big discrepancy. I guess he's talking about his miniature little model plane and a great big freaking airship.
Yeah.
But they airplane, you know, they're on a plane of air, and they use air because it's buoyant, and they can
claim to have bought thousands of gallons of fuel every flight, write it all off, and show as an expense, and that's all just money in their pocket, you know.
And did they really buy that fuel?
Yeah.
And if they did, what are they doing with that?
They didn't buy it. They're just claiming to and writing it off. And maybe they're buying it, but what are you going to do with all that fuel anyway, you know?
Well, that's another thing. Maybe they're using it for something else.
Well, maybe. I don't know what. They don't need to burn it.
I don't know what either. It's all part of this. And think of what's the dollar based on?
That's the petrodollar.
It's the petrodollar,
used
isn't
to be, not no more. Petrodollar's dead.
Well, it certainly is now, and probably with these cryptocurrencies, nobody's even going to, you know, they're going to wake up to free energy right quick now, you know. No more hybrids or, you know, get you better mileage and all that shit. No, free.
Seems like the price of an airline ticket ought to come down some.
Yeah, I think, yeah, definitely.
They're saying,
not that I would fly with those bastards, because they're all Nazis with the TSA who want to strip search and, you know, and put you in a X-ray machine and see what's what.
Check out your junk.
Yeah. How much junk you got in your trunk. You know, and squeeze out your toothpaste. Whatever. No, I'm not going to play with those people. Hell, if I'm going to travel, I'm going to I'll get there by air and the sails of wind and the sails of a boat probably before I get on an airplane, whether it's around, I mean, maybe I wouldn't be more likely to ride in an airplane knowing it's running off of air than a flying bomb full of explosive fuel. That brings me to a 9/11 too. I mean,
right.
They say that jet fuel took down those buildings. Hell, there weren't even airplanes to begin with. There was no plane evidence, so there was no plane. And they don't use jet fuel.
Anyway, had there been a plane.
Right, even if there had been a plane. So, yeah, this is big, I think.
Yep, something people might look at.
Compressed air, free energy, and they've been using it right under your nose and shoving it right in your face and charging you exorbitant prices to fly and all kinds of propaganda in the news and stuff about like the costs of fuel.
That's right. That's why tickets are so high.
Yeah, and other stuff. It's all predictive programming to all this narrative, and then the people just repeat it because it just flies out of their mouth like just flies out. It's like a fly flying out of their mouth.
Yeah.
Because they heard it on TV, or it was just repeated to them so many freaking times that they just think it's true. Anyway, nukes are a hoax. Jet fuel is a hoax. Jets, probably most commercial jets. I'm not saying little private jets or little aircraft. No, I know for a fact that some of them use fuel, gasoline or something.
Piper Cubs.
Or kerosene or whatever.
Yeah.
They say jet fuel is kerosene, but I don't know that, and that really doesn't matter to me. It doesn't have any application to me. But and even the jet fuel hoax doesn't really have much application to my life directly. Not like Flat Earth, knowing where I am and what I am and
well, it's a key bit of evidence to maybe open people's eyes to the truth. That's how it applies to me. It's just one more pry bar in the brains of people that are so conditioned and asleep. It's just one more tool to try to open their eyes.
Yeah, and my friend Bob from Glowbusters, he's a pilot, and he works for the airports there. He's not I don't think he's a commercial pilot, but I think he's a communications type of guy for all the airports around the Denver area, and he knows a lot about the airports and airplanes and flying.
Yeah, he has access to the entire airport, and he said he remembers going down underneath them, and this was on Glowbusters, going down underneath them and seeing all the pipes and plumbing and stuff, and claims he's going to go back down there and check it out and see if he can find the fuel pipelines and stuff.
See what it smells like.
Find out. Even if it costs him his job, he says he don't care. He's going to go find out. So we're going to kind of hold him to that.
Yeah, man. I mean, if he's that brave to do that and risk his job, because he's got a pretty good life out there, and he's been working for them for a long time, and he's a very, reliable guy, you got a lot at stake if you do something like that. And we know, because we have a friend who's a pilot, and he's the CIA. And that's all I'm going to say. Because, you know, that's where you got to draw the line. Do you expose your friends and people who you know? And this guy, you know, he believes the Earth is a spinning ball. I don't think he's in on any conspiracy. Maybe he is. But I'll tell you one thing. He says he has flown, circumnavigated the globe north to south. Lots of times.
Yeah, and he also claimed to got into a pinch where he had it down in Florida and where he had to dump fuel out of a plane to come back around and make a landing, but I don't think he knows what he was dumping. Even though he's a small engine mechanic and knows them inside and out, and people bring their planes to him to be inspected for.
Yeah, he's got his own hangar.
He's got his own shop, and
he's got his own airstrip where he lives.
Yeah. But it may have just been fly the jet and shut up, you know, so who knows.
Yeah. And, you know, we asked him about gyroscopes, and he insists they work with gravity.
Right.
We know they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen enough, and I've studied and researched enough about gyroscopes now that I know that they don't.
They have no respect for you.
They have no respect for me. And, and government has no respect for anyone. They're just big corporations, and the people who you think are government are just big corporate puppets. They're just puppets. They don't even have their own words or thoughts. And they just do what they do for, you know.
A few.
Yeah, they're cold. They're
corpses.
Yeah, they're corpses. And they don't care about you. They don't have your best interest in mind at all. They're criminals. And they live off of your energy. They feed off of your energy. And
your inner chi.
Your inner chi. Yes. Your inner tree.
Mm-hmm. Tapping the toroid.
Well, so, yeah, we just wanted to get that out. We wanted to put in our 2 cents on the nuke, you know, that we think the nuclear plants are
free energy systems.
Free energy systems with compressed air. And
Yep.
We're not killing the ocean or anything with leaks or any of that stuff. In fact, Fukushima was shut down back in the 80s and hadn't even been operant. And that information, yes, it's hard to find. And, you know, the government's not going to tell you that. You know, they're going to scrub that information off the internet and you know, and not answer your FOIA requests, and etc. So, think for yourself and look into everything that you can. I mean, we may not even have 3% of the internet that Google provides pretty soon. So, get it while you can, brothers and sisters. Get it while you can. Yeah, airplanes, nuclear plants, and probably PG&E and Edison and Westinghouse, and everybody's probably running off of compressed air, and, you know, everything could be running with free energy. Are you ready for that? You know, stop buying into these lies and all this propaganda, and just know that it exists. They've been using it for decades.
Since 1940, when Viktor Schauberger sharpened them up on it.
Yeah. And principles that Viktor Schauberger has put out there, you know, with the spiral vortex energy, and I've even heard it put, you know, 2 Fibonacci spiral vortex series, both moving in opposite directions, then meet at a fulcrum point, which is, I think 0 point energy or achieves that. Now, I can't explain it further, but I'm not buying into that. I'm not smart enough to figure it out anymore. And you shouldn't either. Because science should be in our hands, not the hands of corporations and textbooks, which are dished out by another controlled roundtable agenda. So, this is probably way too long, and maybe what else? Can you think of anything else?
I think that's good for this one.
You've got it all in there.
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah. And plus, we wanted to be the first ones to just really solidify and get it out there. We just learned about the compressed air with the airplanes, but it lends itself to the nuclear facilities. And we already knew nukes were a hoax and propaganda. And probably the wars, too, for the most part. I'm not saying nobody died. I'm not saying that the towers didn't really fall down. I'm just saying that the story you're being told and what really happened are miles apart, not even in the same zip code. Compressed air. They're getting over unity, free energy, 0 point, spiral vortex, toroidal, magnetic, electric, free energy.
And you're paying through the nose for it.
Yes. Ambient energy, static electricity. It's all going on, and it runs everything. And the only people who were buying into the petrodollar hoax is us, putting gas in our cars and oh my God, we've got to come out of this dark age somehow. So there's a heads up. Dig it. Flat Earth dork, flat Earth hippie.